My name is Lara Storm-Swire. I work for Mujer, and we work in 5 countries in Latin America, but we've launched a youth product in Bolivia, Mujer in Bolivia. We found that there wasn't as much of an interest in entrepreneurship as we had hoped for. I think a lot of these youth have sort of visions of professionalization, going to university, becoming doctors, becoming accountants, and having a full-time salaried position versus sort of following in their parents' footsteps of really developing 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 different microenterprises to generate income and cover family expenses. So that was one of the major findings. The market research firm came up with 3 different product recommendations. One was an individual loan, one was a group loan, and one was a savings group. So savings only, no credit involved. So what we had to do is we had to look internally as an institution and figure out which of those products sort of fits best within our mold, within our own internal capacities. And we're a group lending institution. We've been doing it for 20 years. That's what we know best. Individual loans are something that at the time, this was over 3 years ago, at the time we just really had very little experience with and just didn't have the internal structure, the processes, the procedures, all of the back office that an institution needs to be able to manage an individual loan product. So we had to scrap the individual loan, and because Mujer is a non-governmental organization, we're not able to capture deposits. And one of the requirements for this product development is that all of these products be sustainable. So there was no way to really be able to sustain a savings-only group if we can't generate any income from that savings. So we ended up going with a solidarity group loan. Originally, we had sort of expected to get a lot of new clients, meaning we weren't expecting to get so many children of clients coming in and joining the youth solidarity groups. We were sort of hoping that we'd be able to reach out to those families whose parents haven't even gone to an MFI yet. But it didn't happen that way. I think it may have been due to the fact that we were marketing perhaps in the same places that we market our regular products. So we ended up getting a lot of children of clients, a lot of students, probably about 85% were studying something, whether it was high school or some sort of technical school, and only about 16% of those clients were actually operating their business full-time. So that was a bit of a shock. We also found that for the most part, in terms of the credit side, they were relatively satisfied with the terms of the credit. They weren't necessarily satisfied with the group structure being inserted into the adult communal bank. They just felt that there were a lot of differences, very different education levels. These young people, as I mentioned, they were all in school, or they were finishing school, or even going into technical school or university, and so their literacy level was higher. They were much faster at finishing the paperwork. So, after 5 minutes, they'd be sitting around waiting, for the rest of the adults to finish their paperwork. We had to spend a little extra time training staff, providing them with separate incentive schemes to make sure that they were both recruiting the product in the right place and also be able to communicate more effectively with young people, which at times there were communication problems between staff and between the young people. So there's a lot of retraining of staff. We had initially started out with a 2-week pre-credit training, and in looking at all of the costs involved with that training, we had to reduce it to 1 week. And really focus on the business side, and we had a lot more sort of life skills type training modules in the 2nd week, but we just couldn't justify that because of the cost. So we had to shorten that as well. Unfortunately, some of the major issues we weren't able to deal with. When we did the initial market research, we did find several different segments in the market. some more creditworthy than others, some more attractive for credit as opposed to savings or other services. So, and another thing that we've sort of overlooked was the fact that Mujer works with young people already. Mujer offers its clients non-financial services. That's part of our methodologies to provide integrated services. So we felt, oh, well, we can just develop other non-financial services for these young people, training and health and things like that. But what we realize is that young people need probably 2 to 3 times more training, more attention than, say, a regular adult client. So we're able to manage sustainably the adult trainings and the adult healthcare services that we provide. But when it came to youth, it was a significantly larger investment. Youth have very specific needs in terms of, you know, life skills. They're at a completely different stage in their life, and there's a lot of useful training material out there that could have provided for better quality training materials. We wanted to sort of fit the youth within what we were currently doing to try and save costs, but ultimately it costed us we lost 30 to 35% of our youth at the end of every loan cycle. In the future, particularly when we're able to regulate, we have, as with all MFIs in Bolivia, everyone has to regulate at this point. So one of the ideas was, well, once we regulate, perhaps we can develop some savings products for young people and explore further the more vulnerable youth segments to really kind of understand if there's a potential for working with them with credit.